Hello and welcome to Autistic FM. My name is Haje, I use he, him pronouns, and I'm your host on this journey. You can subscribe to Autistic FM wherever you get your podcast, and seriously, please do. You can find full transcripts and additional information about each episode on autistic.fm. In this episode of the podcast, I'm joined by Andy Morales, a dedicated teacher and an aspiring medical professional who recently discovered he is neurodivergent. Andy shares his experiences of getting a dual diagnosis, which profoundly impacted his journey. In this episode, we particularly focus on misunderstandings that can arise from a straightforward and open communication style. And our conversation explores the complexity of directness and honesty, particularly in how these traits are perceived both in personal interactions and in professional environments. We have a candid discussion about embracing neurodiversity, navigating misunderstandings, and the need for empathic communication. Join us for an insightful exploration into Andy's world, filled with resilience, aspirations, and a vision for inclusive interaction. Hello and welcome back to the podcast. I am super excited to introduce you to my newest guest. Dear guest, what are your name and pronouns?
My name's Andy Morales. I go by he, him.
Wonderful. Where in the world are you?
Southern California. Well, more central.
When and how did you realize you might be neurodivergent?
Okay, so this past year was really the big take of it all. I was teaching sixth grade full-time, long-term subbing from like February through the end of the school year, taking science classes because I'm applying to medical school, and volunteering at a hospital. So I had a lot going on. And in May, near the end of everything, I had students asking me, why do you never sit down? Why do you drink coffee to calm down? And that had kids asking, do you have ADHD? I'm like, I don't think so. But that happened, and then the last week of May and the first week of June, I got so many people mad at me. And insane, like at least 4 people I got mad at me, and I have no idea what I did or what I said. So I called my primary doctor. I'm like, something's going on. I don't know why all this is happening. I explained everything. It's like, okay, you know what? Let's set you up with behavioral health. And he did that. 2 weeks later, I saw a psychiatrist, and then had a follow-up like a week or 2 later, who diagnosed me with ADHD. And then he put me on a wait list for an autism assessment as well. And that was about 2.5 months after my ADHD evaluation. And then that psychologist diagnosed me with autism level 1. So that's how that.
Goodness. Yeah. I feel like if your students are like, hey, how come the coffee is making you zen? That's your ADHD diagnosis. And then from there, it's like, how has that been for you? How like, what did you learn about yourself in the process?
Adderall makes me calmer. And I'm still learning. And like, even now I'm going through my head, through my past. I'm like, okay, that's because of the ADHD or the autism. Just because some people would always call me like, why are you so rude? Why are you condescending? Just all these things. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know why you're hearing that. That's not how I want it to come off.
Right.
But yeah, and that I'm starting to see it more in my family. Like my traits that I inherited from them. I'm like, and then they're like, no, everyone does that. No, not everyone.
Well, that's the interesting thing, right? I think we messaged a while ago, and you were like, I'm in a really big family. It's like, well, if a really big family and everybody behaves the same around you, then that becomes normal, right? And then you go out in the wider world, and then maybe it's not entirely
My
common.
dad's side of the family, everyone's blunt. We would just, it's coming out.
Yeah, and I mean, I think partially that can be cultural, right? I'm Dutch. Dutch people are like famously blunt, but I'm also autistic, and so that makes me famously blunt. And then I just ran out of fucks to give, and that makes me even blunter. And I feel eventually I'm just like, there's so many layers of bluntness in there. But I think there's a curious thing there. It's like I have a good friend of mine who at some point was like, if people weren't so stupid, I wouldn't have to call them stupid all the time. And I was like, I think maybe
my face does that for me.
Right? You're like,
so like if we have phone calls with parents, I'm like, thank God it's a phone call, because there are times I would look to my dean or principal. I'm like, are you listening to this? Because if it were in person, I'm like, because I've had admin ask me like going into a meeting, what are you most worried about? I'm like, my face.
Yeah, my own
Like
face,
that,
actually.
like I can explain anything that occurs in my classroom. I can explain. My face will show them what I'm thinking if they say something dumb.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. So the reason we set this episode up is that we really wanted to talk about honesty and
Yeah.
bluntness, and I think we kind of crashed into that without really any
Right.
preamble. It feels very present for me. I mean, for a living, when I make money, I work as a pitch coach. I work with startups, and like I know I'm really good at what I do, and so when people say something stupid, I don't try to hide it anymore. I'm just like, no, this is not how that works. We're going to do it differently, or this is not like this. What you said, it makes sense to me that it makes sense to you, but that doesn't make sense to the person you're trying to convince. And let me tell you why. And just being able to cut through the noise about something that I'm really good at saves everybody a lot of time.
Yes.
Where I got myself in trouble is when I am doing that with stuff I'm not that good at. Or where like my lack of patience just kind of goes off a cliff. Is that your experience?
Yes. Okay. 3.5 years ago, I was long-term teaching fourth grade. Immediately, one kid did not want to do any work. Like he would lie on the floor, do nothing. And I would email mom, call mom. Like they used an app called Parent Square, message mom constantly. And she ended up complaining to admin that the way I was messaging was really rude. Because I would just tell her, here's the problem. You need to work
Right.
together to fix it. That's pretty much how each message went. And she did not like
Right.
that. So my admin had to give me a worksheet, a page of, instead of saying this, use this phrase. I'm
Right.
like, no, I don't have time for that. There were 34 students in my class. At that time, I was taking organic chemistry and genetics. Like, no, I do not have the time for this.
Yeah. So what were the like if you're thinking through that cheat sheet now, like what was on that sheet and does it make sense to you
So
more now?
instead of saying, going directly, he's lying down in class, not doing any work, say, he's having trouble applying himself. I'm like, it's more than applying himself. He is literally on the floor. That's a problem.
Right.
Like,
Right. In fourth grade for
yeah.
sure. Yeah.
So let's see what else was on there. It was also stuff like, okay, instead of saying talks a lot, says very social. I'm like, very social can
Right.
mean many things though. That's,
Well, and in the current world, very social is a good thing.
yes.
Right. And I feel like there's a difference between taking a student and, hey, this is a good thing, but I'm going to try and remove that behavior, saying, look, very social is great on the playground. In classroom, maybe not so
Yes.
much. Yeah, no, I think you're not going to get any disagreement out of me on this stuff. But I'm also like, I had a neurotypical person, a friend of mine, messaged me. I was like, hey, I've been listening to your podcast and I find it a little jarring. And I was like, what do you mean? It's like, well, there's no small talk. You just go straight into it. I was like, I ain't got time for that shit. Like who has time for
Yeah.
that?
I'm not going to talk
And I
about how
feel
many clouds are
like,
in the sky today. No.
right. And I think a lot of this stuff actually speaks a lot to the trope that autistic folks don't have empathy, right? It's in you messaging the mother about her kid being on the floor. It's like, well, that was very unempathetic of you. It's like, well,
I messaged you for a
right,
reason. If I didn't care, I wouldn't have
right.
messaged.
The interesting thing about this sheet is essentially it's your cheat sheet for how to mask, right?
Yeah. Because I used it when we had to do cumes at the end of the year. Because they wanted me
Right.
to use the same language, right? And even though it's only teachers who see it, but they wanted that same language
Right.
on there.
I'm curious if you could use ChatGPT for that. Like take your language, put it in here and say, write this like a teacher would,
Probably.
kind of thing. Write this like how a normie would. What did it feel like for you to receive essentially a masking cheat sheet?
I was annoyed. It's going to
Yeah.
take me more time to do it. I had all this. I have 34 students, fourth grade, teaching them math, science, reading, everything, and then my own classes, my own things going on in my own life. Like
Right.
the only time I had time to email was during silent reading, before school, or after school. So yeah, it was eating into my time, my prep time as well.
Yeah. And so in the theme of this conversation, did you say something? Were you like, actually, this is bollocks, or were you like, whatever, this is a job I'm doing, I'll
My
just do
face
it?
told them what I thought. Immediately, I was like, "Are you serious? Like, I don't have
Right,
time for this. Like, what's the problem? I don't see a problem
right,
with this." I told her the problem. I was like, "We need to work together to resolve it. Like any discussion should occur." But
yeah. Is this a common theme in your life?
somewhat, yeah.
Tell me more.
Oh my god. Okay. Like if someone's mad at me, I'm not gonna know why they're mad. So
Hmm.
I'm gonna ask them. I'm either gonna text them or I'm gonna approach them. Like, there's a problem. I notice I can tell you're mad at me, but I don't know why. Like I wanna talk about it. And they don't. They never
Or they
they
don't want to
never
talk
want
about
to
it?
talk about it. It's always
Interesting.
it's fine, don't worry about it. Or it's no big deal.
Well, right. Well, if it was fine, why are you
Yeah.
mad?
But then they start talking to other people about it. Like, so there is a
Right.
problem. And so like just talk to me. Like we can talk like adults. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah. That one happens often.
Do you find that with friendship, romantic relationships? Like, where does this kind of thing
Friendship,
show up?
co-workers, romantic, everything. Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever dated, or do you have friends or close colleagues or something who are also on the spectrum?
Not diagnosed at
That you,
least. Yeah. I have
okay.
one friend with ADHD, a few exes with ADHD. I'm talking to someone now who has ADHD. No, autism, not ADHD. He has autism.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Is the communication different?
yes, very much so.
How is it different?
Those with ADHD tend to talk a lot more, so I don't have to be concerned with over talking, but those with autism, I don't have to be concerned with flowery language, with having to
Right.
rephrase things. That if I say something, I'm like, you know what, and go, start snowballing into like, this is what I meant, this is what I meant. They understand immediately that I didn't mean it, what I had meant, or how it could have been
Right.
interpreted. They focus on what I'm actually saying. It's very different.
Yeah. My brain is spinning in all sorts of directions because I can think of 1,000 different examples of exactly that. I started this podcast in part because the communication has been so hard. And this is like, I literally have a journalism degree. I was a TV producer. Like, communication is what I do for a living. And it turns out that kind of mass communication is very different from, especially the open heart, open soul kind of
Yes.
conversations, right? Like the stuff that really
Mm-hmm.
matters. Like, hey, can you pick up some milk? And I promise you I can fuck up there as well. But it's more the like big emotional conversations, or the, hey, what do you want? Or how do we solve this big
Yes.
conundrum together, in a friendship or in a relationship or whatnot. And I I think part of the reason why I am often socially isolating is because I just don't have it. I just don't have I can't run the translation software all
Yeah,
the
it gets
time.
tiring. It gets exhausting,
Yeah.
especially if they try to avoid the issue or like they don't want to put themselves in that emotional place for some reason, or
Hmm.
like think I'm going to try and guilt them when I just want to fucking talk about it and
Yeah.
come to a resolution. That's all I want. And they don't see that. They see me as trying to argue, trying to gaslight, just trying to blame them. When
Right.
I want fucking communication. I want words. I want a
Yeah.
resolution. That's it. That's all I'm asking for.
Something just came to me as you were saying that. So English is my third language. I speak a bunch of other languages, but I feel like if I'm out in the world interacting with a lot of people who I presume are
Mm-hmm.
neurotypical, I'm actually speaking like, I'm not speaking English. I'm speaking neurotypical. And so I'm actually constantly working in my fourth or fifth language,
Mm-hmm.
which of course that's exhausting,
Yeah.
right? You're having to run this filter nonstop on, oh, like, this is what I want to say. Now, how do I contextualize that with the cultural context that the other person has? And how do I try to guess how it's going to land and then say it differently to make sure it lands the way it's intended? Like, at that point, I'm like 4 steps away from what I actually wanted to say. And I get lost. I get lost in my own words all the time when I'm having, especially when I'm having big emotional conversations. Does that ring true with your experience?
Yes, especially having ADHD on top of it with excessive talking. So that filter is not really there. So it's going to come out
Right.
however it's going to come out. And then I have to double back, especially if I see their face.
Right.
They see it that I made them mad. Like, wait. This is what I actually meant.
Yeah.
Like, don't get mad. And then I start to ramble and talk more, and I just make it worse. I end up making it so much worse.
Right.
Because I'm just
Right.
going and going and going.
Well, and I think there's 2 ways of going, right? There's one, which is like the autistic path, where you go deeper and deeper and deeper down a rabbit hole. And then there's the ADHD path, which is you start 5,000 conversations and you finish 4. And then at the end of the conversation, the person was like, well, you said all this interesting stuff, but we never got to any of the conclusions of this stuff because you kept ping-ponging between things. And I feel like you have the worst of both worlds there, because you don't know which path you're on yourself, presumably, right? Sometimes you're rabbit holing super deep. Sometimes you're opening all the boxes in the closet, and sometimes you're doing both.
That's
right?
In the same conversation. I'm like,
are you aware of it yourself? Or are you just kind of like, wait, how did that end up here? Kind of thing?
My brain makes the connections as quickly as it can, and then so it's jumping. I'm like, wait, let me finish this thought. I'm like, okay. And then I'm going and like, wait, I got to finish that one up back there. And then, so it's a lot of doubling back.
Yeah. I had one guest on the podcast who has ADHD and was like, oh, I'm not medicated today. I was like, okay, great. Let's see how this goes. It was, and I mean, no shade on being medicated or not medicated, to be clear.
The emotional part that my Adderall helps with, I didn't even realize. I did not know I had anxiety until I started Adderall. It's just, I lived that constantly.
You noticed because the anxiety went away? Say more about that.
So, like every single day of my life, I was just like worried. Like, am I saying too much? Am I saying the wrong thing? Why are they making that face? Why is that their tone? I don't understand their tone. It's not matching their words. And then I started Adderall literally on July 4th, Independence Day. And I got so calm. I got relaxed. I'm like, I could breathe. I could actually take deep breaths. It helped with my breathing. And I did not know I was living in a constant state of anxiety my entire life.
What? Like,
that was my
what was that like?
Everyday. That was my everyday. So that's what I was used to.
So can I ask how old you are?
32.
Yeah. And so this was earlier this year, right? So this was like 6 months ago. Yeah. So, I mean, so you went 31 and a half years with all of that happening. And suddenly somebody just flicked a switch and you're like, what the what just happened?
The first time I took it, I went to sleep with Adderall.
Yeah.
Like, I calmed me down.
Well, and I think this is the interesting thing, right? I drink so much coffee and it is never, like, people say, oh, I can't sleep, I've had coffee. I was like, that's not true for me. I don't think I am diagnosable as ADHD, but there's definitely something going on in there, which is like, same thing with my parents. They drink prolific amounts of coffee. And I'm like, sure, there's nothing going on there. Well. But I mean, it's like, and I think, I mean, part of it might be culture, right? But part of it might just be, this is people self-medicating.
Which I have been doing. My students saw me. They literally saw me. I told them it's because it calms me down. I told my coworkers it calms me down. That's why I'm drinking so much today.
Right. Well, and like as far as self-medication goes, there isn't that many downsides to coffee. It's a slight diuretic, so you have to drink more water. But other than that, sure, you have a lot of caffeine in your system, but caffeine in itself, as far as I'm aware, not terribly harmful. As opposed to self-medicating the other way with alcohol or what have you, right? Which I have also done and do from time to time. But I mean, like, great, if coffee works for you, crack on, right? Obviously, as you're telling the story, I understand that Adderall works better, but so it turns out pharmaceutical grade amphetamines is better than caffeine, which you would expect.
100%.
Goodness. Do you have any feelings about like the first 31 years of not knowing that? Like, I imagine that would have been like my life could have been very different
So
moment.
high school and college, I did really well. That
Okay.
structure of high school and college kept me on track. But I had to be super busy to get through it. In high school, I took every honors and AP class I could. I was in sports and clubs. I volunteered. It was just jumping from one thing to the other. I had to do the same thing in college. I was My college was on the quarter system, and I was taking 5 or 6 classes per quarter, working part time at my old high school, and volunteering. Like again, jumping from one thing to the other, and that's how I got my degree. Just jumping, jumping, jumping. But
Yeah.
once I started working, the structure wasn't there. Completely gone.
Right.
It was all up to me. And the moment I got bored with a job, I was out. I couldn't be there.
Yeah.
And
And what was that sense? Like the boredom sets in, and then what
I
happens?
started thinking of what other jobs I would like. Like, I've applied to the
Right.
Peace Corps, I applied to law school, I applied to a master's program in London, even accepted that one at King's College, and got my visa and everything. So, yeah, it's just jumping, 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 jumping. So, like,
Yeah.
I think
And so medical school,
now
huh?
medical school, which is what I wanted to do in high school and when I started college.
Uh-huh.
So, but I changed my major. And
What draws you to that?
ever since I was a little kid, I wanted to be a doctor because I was born 3 months early. So I was
Oh crap.
yes,
Okay.
yes,
That's
that,
serious.
and I weighed 1 pound 13 ounces when I was born. So yeah,
I mean, I've had kittens bigger than that. Not quite, but
yeah.
I mean, that's tiny.
So I was always in and out of the doctor's office. So I got used to it. So I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to do this, and it's what I wanted to do when I started college. But then I changed my major, and then changed it again. Like, okay, I graduated with a poli-sci and econ degree. Like, okay, what can I do with this degree? So I ended up working for my county doing budgeting. Lasted a year and a half because I was by myself in an office. And
Yeah.
then my friends were like, oh,
Budgeting is great if you love, love, love budgeting, but you have to have a special kind of interest in that, I think. Not for
not for
me.
me.
Like, I love building spreadsheets. That's fun and interesting because I'm like, oh, I get to make all the math happen, right?
Yeah.
That's cool. But then running a spreadsheet,
I mean,
kill
I
me
got
now.
great with a 10 key.
Right.
So I
Yeah.
got talent right there. But I'm pretty sure my boss for that job kind of knew I was ADHD because within 2 weeks of me starting, she started to have me carry a notebook wherever I went. If I left my office, I was to have that notebook with me to write things down. And in meetings, she would tell me, okay, write that down so you don't forget. And then she started assigning me different projects, like research projects, because I think she could tell I was getting bored.
Right.
And later I found out she gave me earlier deadlines than the other analysts. So by the time the urgency set in, it'd be done on time.
I mean, so did that feel like micromanaging and overbearing, or does it feel like a kindness? Because I can totally see that going either way.
I didn't find it micromanaging because she would only pass by my office because my office was closest to the break room and walk into the other side of the floor. She'd go, "Are you working, Andrew? Are you working, Andrew?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm working." But like
Yeah,
that's about
gotcha.
it. But other than that, yeah, she wasn't a big micromanager. She's like,
Yeah,
"Here's your assignment. Go have fun." Except one time.
figure it out.
One time she walked into my office, 8 a.m. She's like, "You took business law, right?" I'm like, "Yeah." She's like, "Great. Here's a 50-page contract. I need that summarized to one page in an hour. We have a meeting." So I got it done within that hour, but the meeting wasn't until 11. She just wanted it done.
She underestimated your speed reading skills.
She just wanted it done before the 11 o'clock meeting. But she knew if
Yeah,
she told
yeah.
me 9 o'clock, I would get it done right away.
It's interesting. I've definitely had employees in the past that are on the spectrum somewhere, and like they were not diagnosed.
Hmm.
Like they were diagnosed with bipolar or depression or whatever, right, and were medicated for that. But I don't think that was what was up with them in retrospect. Are you in pre med or
Right now,
where are you
still
at?
pre-med. I need 2 more classes, but I am applying right now, and I'm studying to possibly retake the MCAT if I don't get in this cycle.
Exciting.
Yes.
Do you have any worries about that, like, or taking that on now, or do you feel like with your dedication and your medication, you're like,
Oh,
let's go?
with the medication, let's go because That's the other reason I went for the ADHD assessment. When I took the MCAT, it was mid-June. They gave me a rolling chair at the testing center. I was just moving in that damn thing the entire time. And after what my students had asked me, that was my focus. That became my focus the entire time. My focus was not that test. My focus was, why
Right.
am I moving in this chair and can't stop?
Yeah.
So then I stopped and I grabbed the pen. Got a pen just like this, exactly. And I was just opening, closing, opening, closing, opening, closing. I'm like, okay, put that down. And I start moving in the chair again. Like,
Yeah.
so I did not focus on that test, even though I got like a 504, which is an okay score, but my focus is not
Right.
that test at all.
I had that in all my so my degree was in journalism, which means it's mostly written work, right? It's not a lot of exams. But the few exams I did have, I finished in 15 minutes. I read the assignment, I wrote out my first draft, I looked at it, I was like, I could clean this up, or I could just hand it in and then I'd be done with it. And I handed it in. My entire school career, I handed stuff in like 15 minutes into a 3-hour test. It's like, look, I don't know what you want from me. I don't know why everybody else is so slow. You either know it or you don't. You can string a sentence together or you don't. You make your argument or you don't.
Yeah.
And if I don't, 3 hours is not going to help me. So I'm just going to do it, hand in the thing, and hope it
Yeah,
works.
I've told the exact same thing to students. Either you know it or you don't. If you don't know it, fine, you'll learn it later. But right now, move on. Like, you don't have time to
Right.
waste. Like, why are you
Totally.
just gonna sit there if you don't know it? You're wasting time, wasting everyone's time.
Right. How do you feel about your bluntness now? Is it just part of who you are? Is that something you want to work on and change? Like, what's your approach there?
I think I can meet them halfway if they meet me halfway. Like, they know I'm gonna be honest with them, say what I want, but how I say it, don't focus on
Yeah.
that. Just focus on what I'm saying, and I'll meet you halfway. I'll try and control my tone. There's no guarantee because I don't hear it all the time.
Right.
Because I've had parents complain about my tone, that I'm very condescending. Like,
Right.
nope, that's just like just giving them the facts, nothing more.
Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. Have you come across the double empathy problem? It's the hey, like you think I don't have empathy, but I think you don't have empathy, and we're living in a neurotypical world, and therefore I'm at fault. But you're making no effort at meeting me
Yeah.
halfway. And I think it's one of those things where, like in some spaces, we're starting to have conversations about this.
When I started therapy, I remember the
Right.
entire focus was on me changing everything. So,
Right.
like, me controlling my tone so they don't get upset. Me controlling my volume so they don't get upset. It was all about me. Me, changing me. Which I did not like.
Yeah.
Like, why can't they meet me halfway? Why is it
Right.
on me to change everything about me, which is just masking, more masking? You're
Right.
training me to mask further.
Well, and the interesting thing is, right, if you think of it as an accent, like you being blunt or you having a different tone is an accent. Let's call it an accent for a moment. If you were speaking with a Spanish accent or a Russian accent, nobody would tell you lose your accent, right? Nobody would tell you speak American without an accent, because you realize like that's not something people necessarily have control over. People don't choose their accents. You can work really hard to try and lose it, but as long as the communication is there, like you're not going to get mad at a tourist for speaking fine English with a Russian accent,
Right.
right? And so I'm like, wait, why can't we do the same for people who speak with a ADHD accent, if you want to call it that, ADHD accent, or a autism accent or whatnot,
Just how it's going to come out, how it comes out.
right?
Yeah.
But I think this is where especially kind of low support needs autistic folks fall into a trap. Like if I meet you on the street, you don't look different,
Yes.
right? There's nothing obvious about you. And when you open your mouth, it sounds like you speak English without an accent, right? You're intelligent. You string coherent sentences together. And so there's this trap where I don't like everything where we are different, or if I were neurotypical, everywhere we are different is completely invisible.
Yeah.
And so I got lulled into this sense of like, oh, you're exactly like me. And then you say something outrageously blunt, and I'm like, wait a minute, you're nothing like me,
Right.
or worse, you're exactly like me, but you hate my guts.
Yes.
It's like, no, that's not what's happening here.
Yes. Like, why are you mad? Why? I don't understand your face right now. I've said that so many
Right.
times. Like, I see your face. I don't get it. What's going on?
Right. How does that land on people?
they sigh and go, never mind. Most of the time, yeah. I was like so many times. It's just don't worry about it. But I can
Right.
tell they're mad. Like my sister, though, and my dad, they will tell me like, you shouldn't have said this. You shouldn't have said it this way. Those words phrased that way came off like this. They will tell me, which I appreciate, because it's like
Right.
learning a different language. Like, okay, these words together
Right.
mean that. Okay, the inflection at this word means this. Like, okay, got it.
And this is the interesting thing about this podcast too. I thought I left my hanging out in the comment sections on the internet days behind many years ago. But now that I'm more active on TikTok and Instagram and whatnot, I find myself a lot more in a space where I'm like actually commenting on stuff. And sometimes people get stupidly angry with me.
But,
And I read back my comment and I'm like, okay, if I squint just like this, I can see what you are seeing. But of course, I'm now spending a lot of time having discussions with other neurodivergent people. And so now I'm like, okay, I see what you're saying. I see what I'm trying to say. And really, we could meet in the middle somewhere and figure it out together. But this is the internet, right? Who has time for nuanced discussions where you could just tell somebody an idiot, block them, and move on? And I feel like that does me a disservice. Like, I never really want to be mean.
yeah.
That's not entirely true. Sometimes I definitely want to be mean. But like, I posted this this book review this morning on the podcast, and I definitely wanted to be mean about that book because it was drivel. But I'm curious, like, you mentioned that most of the time people are like, oh, whatever, move on, or it's fine. How is the reaction you get from your was it your sister and your dad? How is that reaction different, and how does that land on you differently?
Well, they will help me stop talking immediately. They'll tell me to stop talking and then tell me why I shouldn't have said what I just said and explain it. They will explain it to me, which that's the part I really appreciate, is them explaining it to me. It's like having a translator. Like, you know what? They are my translators.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What a beautiful thing to have some translators on hand, you know? I'm curious. So you saying that made me just curious. I wonder if there are couples therapists that are particularly good at.
which I tend to always give them the benefit of the doubt when they do something to me.
Right.
But the other way, that rarely happens.
Right.
It's like once they think I said something, once they hear what I say and they hear what they want to hear from those words, they're
Right.
sticking to it. There's no moving from that idea of me once they hear it.
Right. But in a friendship or a romantic partnership, you would hope that somebody goes, hey, Andy, you just said something to me. Like, everything I know about you, like, I don't think that's what you meant to say. Can we try again?
See, and I would 100%.
Wouldn't that be a wonderful thing to hear?
I would love that. I would love
Yeah.
that. Instead of having them talk to other people about me, talk to me. Like, I'm not going to get mad about it. I'm going to apologize. I might bake you some cookies as an apology, but like, yeah, tell me. It's not a big deal.
What would the phrase be that would work really well for you? Imagine you were in a partnership or in a close friendship, and somebody was like, hey, like, how could somebody say that to you if we just workshop it?
Can we just talk about something you said or did? Literally it. That's all they need to tell me. I'm like, yeah,
Right.
let's dive into it. What did I say? What did I do? Okay.
And is it helpful for you to when your sister or your dad says something like, hey, I think what you just said, like, what was the phrase they used? What was how did they put it to you?
I have said that, or shouldn't have used that phrasing. But they'll just tell me, stop, you need to stop right now, and because it only happens with other family members when they intervene.
Right.
So,
Right.
but yeah.
Stop talking, I think, is helpful. It's like, hey, you're digging yourself dig. It's like, please
Especially
pause.
with the ADHD,
stop.
I can just ramble on and on and on.
Right.
Just tell me to stop, so my brain will like put the brakes on because it's not doing it on its own.
And I've got to admit, though, if somebody said to me, you shouldn't have said that, my heckles are up. I'm like, okay, so now you presume to know what I meant to say from what I tried to say. And so you're telling me that you understood what I was trying to say, but now you're mad at me for saying it wrong. Well, you understood. That's what communication is about, right?
Yeah.
That's where my brain goes.
See, sometimes if they ask me, what did you mean by that? Like, what was your brain trying to say? I'm like, my brain
Right.
is trying to say this. What did your brain interpret based on what I said? Like, what
Do you
information?
get surprised?
Yeah, all the time, every time,
Yeah.
every single time, I'm surprised.
Well, and so there's an interesting thing there, right? Because from what I've seen from you, from your content online, and from this conversation, and from our other interactions, you strike me as a heart open, friendly human being.
I try to be. Yeah,
Right. Well, and some people don't even try to be, right?
yeah,
So you're ahead of those guys. But I mean, there's a thing there where I don't even really know what I'm trying to say, to be honest. I'm just like the thing that springs to my mind is like you deserve to be surrounded by people who are willing to give you the benefit of the doubt.
that's what. Yeah, yeah,
Is I think what I'm trying to
yeah.
say.
It's like I don't know if other people have all that trauma in their past, so they assume the worst in others, so they don't want to bring it up because they think it might be the same. I don't know, but yeah, it's getting tiring because it's
Yeah,
again and
no
again
kidding.
and again. I'm like, why are we arguing? I don't even understand why we are arguing right now.
I think this is actually weirdly an American thing in this moment where we're so addicted to drama that the assumption is immediately that, oh, Andy's just trying to cause drama,
Mm,
or you're just trying to get a rise out of me,
hmm.
or whatever. And if that happens on the internet, I'm like, yeah, maybe that's true. But if that happens with close friends, I'm like, I don't know. I don't troll close friends,
Right.
right?
I mean, I'll tease people, which
Sure.
I think
I
becomes
mean,
a problem in and of itself, depending on how it comes out. Because I do like teasing people. You know, I'm the youngest boy amongst
right,
six. I grew up teasing people. Like in my
right,
family, we're Latinos, like we're Chicanos. We tease people. Like our nicknames for each other is based on insecurities.
right.
So yeah, that's what I'm used to, and that's how we treat others. I'm gonna tease you. If I like you, I'm gonna tease you.
I worked in a workplace in the UK where in part of the interview process, they're like, hey, there's a lot of banter. We make fun of each other a lot. Is that okay with you? And I was like, yeah, sure. I'll give as good as I get. That'll be fine. And even as I said that, I was like, oh, I had tremendous bullying trauma. This is
Mm,
going to be an interesting one for me. But I'm sharp tongued, right? If this is the game we're playing, I'll learn the game. I'll play back. And, I definitely went too far a few
yes.
times where I didn't know. It was like, oh, if this is the game we're playing, I'm going to win. I was like, yeah, but you don't get to leave corpses on the field at the
Yeah.
end. And I think that's where it gets a little complicated with teasing.
Hmm.
And so this is why I rarely do it anymore, because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not good enough at reading people's expressions to know when I've fucked up.
Okay. Yeah, I know when I fuck up, but I don't know about you, but I'm very good. I don't like that I'm good at this, but I'm very good at finding someone's insecurities. Like I don't use it against them. I can see it very easily.
Right.
And when either when deep in an argument and they push me, or like teasing going too far, like I'll use their insecurities,
Right.
and that just makes
Yeah, that's
everything worse.
with my partner. We have an agreement. It was like, hey, I will tolerate almost anything, but you never get to be mean to me. And mean in this case means saying or doing something specifically to hurt me.
Hmm.
Teasing, sure, that kind of thing is fine. But I feel like being mean, like intentionally hurting somebody else.
Hmm.
I'm like, look, I'm not. That's not why I'm in a relationship.
Yeah.
And so hearing you say that makes me go a little, oh God, that sounds really scary to me.
Like
It sounds
I
really
do not
scary to
like
me.
that I'm good at finding people's insecurities.
Right,
Because then again, the ADHD part might take over. I'm just gonna say it. I'm like, wait, wait,
right.
wait. Let me backtrack on that. Wait, I'm like that should not have come
Yeah,
out.
pump the brakes here,
Yes,
Sonny Jim. Yeah.
yes.
What's interesting, I mean, I have never had a therapist that didn't suggest to me that I should be a therapist, which I think is weird, right? Because I'm like, wait, do you want to, whatever? And then I've sat with it a few times. I even looked into what it would do to become some sort of therapist. It's like, no. 90% of the time, I would sit around being bored to tears listening to other people's problems and not being allowed to problem
Right?
solve.
I'm gonna give them solutions. Like, here's your problem. Like, here's
Right.
this.
Well, and the last 10%, I would just be absolutely cutting with them.
Mm-hmm.
Where I'd be like, look, just don't do that thing. Or really, as you're saying,
Yeah.
like spotting what the pattern
Mm-hmm.
is and then just parroting it back to them and going, fix it, figure it out. This is not okay. This is actually on you. This is a you
Yeah.
problem. Fix it. I'm like, you can't do that as a therapist. And I'm sure I'd get plenty of training and I'd get out of that. But I'm like, that's not a role for me. What kind of medical specialty are you drawn
I'm
towards?
thinking neurology. So,
Mm-hmm.
brain and everything.
Yeah.
So that's perfect for
Yeah.
us. Which is what,
I mean, yeah.
yeah. Once I took psychology in high school, I loved like the brain, neurotransmitters, all of that.
That's awesome. And it also sounds like, you're going straight for the rocket surgery,
Yes.
huh?
Oh, never surgery.
Never surgery.
No. Standing in one spot for hours on end? No. I'm not
Right.
doing that.
And getting twitchy while you're holding a
Yeah.
sharp blade in somebody's head. Yeah, maybe
I
not.
was being a neurologist, just walking around seeing different patients, talking to them.
I mean, but even in that, you're showing a level of self insight and self knowing that is helpful,
Yeah.
right? Like, I feel like a lot of people go into medical because surgery is like the shining beacon on the hill.
I don't know how they do it because I was in a NICU for like 6 months from June through December volunteering, and they would let me observe deliveries. I had so much trouble staying in that one spot. So I was just moving on my feet back and forth to the side.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I don't know how they do that. I could not. I could never.
Do you meditate?
No, I can't.
Right. I
Too
mean,
many,
that's not a surprising
too
answer.
many thoughts up here. It's like that scene
Right.
on the new Kung Fu Panda movie where you start singing about food and all this other stuff. Yeah, that's me. Like I'm gonna go. You know what? I haven't made this like these types of cookies in a while. Let me try with brown butter. Would it be good with brown butter? What if I adjust the baking powder ratio? That's what my brain goes to.
Meanwhile, somebody is screaming in pain delivering a
Yeah.
baby, and you're just like, cookies.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Because
amazing.
this one was a triplet. She had a C-section for triplets, so
Oh goodness, that's that's a lot. Do you sometimes feel like your bluntness is a superpower or a benefit?
yes. So that job I had budgeting, so there was my boss. She had two people above her. So she was the director of finance or something, and then there was executive of finance, and then the county administrative officer above her.
Hmm.
And I knew him, the main person, because he's how I got the job. I tutored his stepson while I was in college.
Nice.
And so my boss, like, I would walk into her office. I would walk into any of their offices and just give my opinion, just start talking. And they were like, okay, yeah, let's try that. Or, you know what, we've tried that in the past. It's not going to work. I'm like, okay, great. I just give my opinion. And they were fine with it.
Right.
And my coworkers were surprised. Like, you just walk in there and just start talking. I'm like, yeah? Like, is that not what we're supposed to do? Her door is open.
Right.
She has a couch in
Yeah.
there.
People who say their door is always open and it's literally
Yeah.
open. I'm going to walk through it, kind of
Yes.
thing.
And she has a couch in there I'm going to sit on while I talk. Yeah, so it's like at least it seemed like they appreciated it at the time. Yeah, but other bosses, no, they do not like it. They think I'm challenging them for some reason. I'm like, I'm just giving my opinion. Like, take it or leave it. I don't care. But like, there it is.
Yeah. How do the kids react to it? Because I feel like that role as a teacher is kind of the role, right? You are the
Hmm.
challenger. You are the, hey, don't do that, or hey, there's a better way of doing this kind of thing.
Fifth and sixth grade works fine because they're at the age where I can start to be more blunt with them.
Right.
When I had kindergarten, it's a lot of sugarcoating. It's like, okay,
Right.
friend, we shouldn't have punched her in the stomach during lunchtime. We have to go to the
Right.
principal right now, okay? It's a lot of that tone as
Right.
well. Otherwise, they start
Yeah.
crying. So I
Yeah.
really had to learn to soften my tone and soften my expression. So I learned how to really soften my eyes, look at
Right.
them sweetly, and always smile. So for the bluntness, it was easy for 5th and 6th grade. Because the kids love it, especially, oh my God, what did I say? Oh my God. One kid asked me, where are you writing this? I'm like, on your paper. And other kids just start laughing. I'm like, what is so funny about that? Because I'm like
Right.
on the paper in front of you. I think may have been the tone, actually, because I actually heard it that time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's an undercurrent of dodoy in
Yeah.
there.
So, yeah, they like it because they think I'm teasing them or like burning. Like, oh my God, I always go, oh, Mr. Morales just burned you. I'm like, what did I say?
Right.
Like,
I
I'm
just
just saying what I'm saying. Yeah, but it's different depending on the grade.
Yeah, totally. And it's so interesting too, because it sounds like you were able to build up a mask for the
Yes.
preschoolers to have like a tone or whatnot. And that mask is not transferable. You can't talk to people at the DMV
No.
like that kind of thing.
So,
Could you just put your signature in the little
yeah,
box so I can get my fucking driver's license,
yeah.
please?
So
You can't do that,
it felt more
right?
like acting when I had kindergarten. Just I'm acting. I'm an entertainer
Right.
for them. So I didn't see it as
You're
masking.
cosplaying a
Yeah,
teacher.
I didn't see it as masking. It's just I have to be an actor for them. Be completely
Right.
different to get them, keep them engaged, to keep them entertained. Because the only good thing was I got to be more animated. I got to run around, jump around, and they liked that. I kept them entertained
Right.
and engaged.
Yeah, yeah.
So like that part of the mask got to drop, but I had to watch what I said. So it's like part of it dropped, but another one had to come up.
Yeah, yeah. What to you is you made a distinction between acting or
Hmm.
theater and masking. To you, what's the difference?
I'm not aware of when I mask all the time, but when I'm acting, I'm very much aware.
Do you act anyway? Is that one of your
You know
hobbies?
what? I wanted to do theater in high school, but I wasn't out, and I thought like it would have been too gay to do theater.
Yeah, I feel like you're onto
So I
something.
didn't. Yeah, I didn't want any more of that. But yeah, I regret not doing theater in high school. I should.
I always ended up on the technical side, running sound or light or whatever, and theater was definitely one of the places where I got to be. But it was definitely the place where I felt really at home because you get to be as weird as you are. Like nobody gives any shits when you're in theater. They're like, "Oh, you're a theater kid. Everything makes sense
Hmm.
now." It's like, "Does it?" But fine, I'm just gonna roll with it, kind of
Yes,
thing.
because I saw those kids jumping and laughing and like doing whatever they wanted and saying how
Right,
and they have the script on what to say. Like they don't
right.
have to spend
How
all that
delightful.
mental energy on what to say. It's there in front of them. Even how to say it.
Yeah, yeah. I've spoken to a number of people who did really well in at work, right? They have like imagine working at a McDonald's. The first day at McDonald's, you get trained to the eyeballs about how to flip burgers and how to talk to staff, how to talk to your
Hmm.
colleagues, how to talk to guests, all that kind of stuff, right? Then you get promoted to front of house. It's fine, same, right? Then suddenly you're the manager, and now all the scripts fall apart
Yes.
because there's like a general training, but you don't get trained with how do you escort a homeless person out of the building?
Hmm.
How do you deal with it if somebody faints on the floor? Like it's just you to deal with however you deal with stuff. And I feel like for a lot of autistic people, it's really nice to have jobs that are very tightly scripted and tightly
Hmm.
trained, where you have like, oh, I've been trained all the edge cases, everything. If I just like essentially saying that out loud, these are the jobs that people would just replace with robots if they could.
Yeah.
Am I
Yeah.
wrong?
Like even teaching,
I
so
mean,
much of the curriculum is there for you. Just give it to them.
right,
It's like we're
right,
reading this book and then answering these questions. We're doing these math problems. Not like, and the books give the examples on what to give for the math problems. It's like it's all there.
right. Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to teach it my way because otherwise, I hate the way most of the books do it. I'm like, I don't like the way
Right,
it's
sure.
phrased, so I tell the kids, yeah, ignore that. We're going to do it this way.
Right. Well, and that makes sense, right? And that way you have kind of a way of like I feel you can't teach something unless you deeply understand it.
Yeah.
It's the whole see one, do one, teach one
Mhm.
thing in surgery and in various other doctor things. But I feel like that's kind of how teaching works, right? You can't teach something unless you have a deep understanding of the thing.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing with fifth and sixth grade. I would hope that at least you have a reasonably deep understanding of the math you're teaching.
Math, yes. It took me a while for the grammar because grammar was never my thing. Commas were always my enemy. But as I taught it, I started like, oh, wait, there's the pattern, because I never wanted to pay attention to the pattern because I hated it.
Right.
They're like, oh, wait, there's the pattern now. And then I finally saw the pattern. And that's how I teach it.
I think that's how our brains work. I did calculus and I hated every moment of it. I was like, I never will use this. I don't know what it's for. Even the teacher can't explain to me what this is for. Like, oh, something to do with computers. Like, well, whatever. Like, something to do with computers means nothing, right? And then I started doing a bunch of coding and I was writing a bunch of software that was moving objects around. I was like, oh, calculus. That's how you move a square in space, by figuring out where each dot needs to be. And then I taught myself calculus in an afternoon.
Yeah.
Right? But it was one of those things, unless I know what I'm going to need it for and can fit it into my worldview, it's not going to work. And it sounds like it's the same thing with you and the commas. It's like, well, who gives a shit if there's a wrong comma in a text?
Yeah. I'm like, okay, I have to know it now. So let me see. I'm like, oh, there, I see the pattern.
I love that.
Professors, because since I did poli-sci, a lot of essays, one professor wrote, when he gave it back, come see me about your writing.
Right.
So he had me rewrite it for a new grade. Like, the ideas are great, but like your grammar is atrocious.
It's unreadable. Yeah. Right.
I'm like, I hate.
Yeah. And I think this has been such an interesting thing because I like multilingual, right? And so my brain doesn't really work in any particular language ever. Which means my grammar tends to be really good because I had to learn all the rules for it to make any sense, rather than having like an intuitive sense of like, I have no intuitive sense of English. Especially not when writing, but it's the like just rote repeating the patterns.
Yeah, it's like once I lock onto that pattern, it's mine. Like who and whom, I now use whom as it's supposed to be used. Most
Beautiful.
Most people don't even do. Like we teach it,
right?
Like, once you teach it, no one uses whom.
Right.
But I use it now because I learned the pattern, so I use whom when I'm supposed to. Like who's talking to whom?
Totally. And I think it's like that with a lot of patterns, where if you are a pattern person, which, autistic people tend to be, once the pattern sticks, you can never unsee it, kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's fascinating. What excites you right now?
Hopefully getting into a medical school.
Yeah?
Yes.
Does that involve moving to a different part of the country, you think?
Yeah, the closest one to me is either LA or San Francisco.
Right. Are you excited about that?
Yes. Even though it's going to be 4 years, but we'll see. Like, I like volunteering at the hospital because they actually let me work with patients. So I'm enjoying that because, one, I get to talk to people.
Right.
Like, I get to work with my hands and all the, like, blood pressure, reading all the vitals. When I was in the NICU, feeding babies, changing babies. Like, it's a lot of things.
Well, I feel like that kind of volunteering sets you up pretty well for having a much deeper empathy as a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how many doctors have spent much time in a NICU unless they work in a NICU or unless they went through a rotation.
That reminds me, when I started the NICU, like my first week, one of the nurses approached me like, you want to go to med school, right? I'm like, yeah. She's like, you look like a doctor. Like, she phrased it, you have the aura of a doctor. I'm like, oh my God, nice. Thank you. That's so kind.
Well, what a beautiful thing to be told.
And like, that just made my month.
That's awesome.
Not my year.
Hey, I don't want to steal too much of your time. Thank you so much for all your wonderful candor and anecdotes and stories and magicness. I have a couple of questions I'd like to end on, if that's okay with you. What do you wish people, and I suppose in particular neurotypical people, understood or knew about, in your case, ADHD and autism combined?
I'm going to ramble. I will always ramble. So if you want me to stop, let me know. And if you don't like what I said, let me know. Just let me know. Communicate. Use your words. That's the main thing. Use your words with me. Like, I'm not always going to know what the look on your face is going to mean. Use your words.
Beautiful. Thank you. And ultimately, the kind of goal of this podcast is to help help people love autistic folks better. And so my curiosity is, can you tell me a story of a time that you were really deeply seen and felt loved?
I was thinking about that the other day, that I never said those 3 words to anyone. That I love you.
What is that like for you?
Like, I can't even say it to my family, because I don't know what that emotion really is with the alexithymia. So I don't know if I've ever really felt it. Like, I felt caring, like I want to care for this person, I want to help them out, I want them to be happy, but I don't know if that's love. Because I don't know if it's love, I don't want to say it. Until I'm 100% sure that is what I am feeling, I will not say it.
I mean, that is beautiful.
So that's...
Because one way or the other, culturally, there's so much pressure to tell people you love them.
Yeah.
And you're choosing not to because you're not sure.
Mm-hmm. Like, so they know from my actions I care about them. Like,
Yeah.
if someone calls me at 2 a.m., I'm going to go to wherever they are. Like,
Yeah.
I will drop whatever I'm doing. But I don't know if that's love, because it's like one of those things it's effable. Like, you can't describe it.
Mm-hmm.
And because I can't describe it, I'm not going to say it.
I mean, I think that is an act of love.
It's like trying to describe a sunset to a blind person. That's how I feel.
Right. Have you ever really deeply missed someone? Like, wished they were with you?
Yes. Yes, I have. Like, right now, I'm talking to someone, like, he's in Dallas at the moment. It's like, I wish you were here. Listening instead.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Because I do tell them when time comes, like, I can't say it, because I don't know if that's what I'm feeling. I don't want to lie to you. Like, I don't want to lie to
Right.
them and say it.
That's beautiful.
That's not what it is. Because what if it's not? There's that part of me that's thinking, what if it's not love? But, like,
Right.
something adjacent to love. So, because I'm not sure, I'm not going to say it.
Yeah. Or am I just really turned on right now? What's going on? Yeah, I hear that. All right, friend. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk to you. This was
Thank you for having me.
delightful.
This was fun.
Thank you so much for tuning into today's episode of the podcast. If this story resonated with you or sparked curiosity, we'd love to hear your thoughts. You can find us on TikTok on Autistic FM, on Instagram at autistic_FM, and on the web on autistic.fm. On our website, you can also subscribe to our newsletter, which I send out with every new update. The newsletter includes additional resources and the latest updates from the realm of neurospiciness. This podcast is produced and hosted by me, Haje Kamps. If you know somebody who shares a remarkable story or unique insights that would enrich our podcast, please reach out. You can email us on hello@autistic.fm or contact us via our social media channels. I look forward to seeing you soon.